Welcome to our quoting system inside Shedmate. This is a very powerful system, but at the same time very simple to use once it is set up. So before we start using this and putting our hands on the system, pressing the buttons, I'd like you to understand some of the concepts in how our costing database, our pricing calculations, they are combined with our bill of materials to generate our pricing for our shed. So I would like to jump you here to this dashboard to explain a few concepts that will make a lot of sense once you start using the system. And the first one of them is the pricing database. So let's cover a few different terms here. And what is a pricing database? A pricing database is pretty much a list of items, and these items, they can be material items, they could be labor, they could be delivery costs, and also a unit for each one of them and a price. So we could have here concrete in cubic meters, or we could have here roof insulation in square meters or just in rows. So there are different ways to quantify the same material, and by having the right setup inside Shedmate, to guarantee that you have the correct output at the end. And we also obviously have a price, and this is going to vary from company to company, and it can even vary from time to time. For example, when you have price increases from your suppliers or something else that might happen. So it's very important that we understand this concept so we can always go back to the right place at Shedmate and make the improvements that we need to have the right pricing. So the pricing database will have the item name, a category, a unit, and you might have an ERP code. This stands for Enterprise Resource Planning Code. Generally, companies will have a specific code for each material. If you have it, that's great. This is generally what's linked to MyOb, Xero, or other platforms that combine not only the supply of materials, but also accounting, financials, and other areas of your business. If you have a ERP code, we can include this in Shedmate as well. There's no problem. The other concept we need to understand is our pricing calculations. So after I have my pricing database for material, admin, and prices, I'll need to actually get my bill of materials, and then I need to tell Shedmate how I'm quantifying that specific material to give me a price. So a few examples. If I'm actually quantifying C-column frames, I'll do that by linear meters, right? And I just multiply the number of frames by the height or by the length. But at the same time, if I'm quantifying cladding, how am I doing this? And am I doing this by an area? Or generally, I do that by length based on the number of cladding irons that I have. So there are different ways that different companies, they will quantify the same material, they estimate things. So Shedmate can get very precise, but sometimes you don't need that level of precision. So you can actually tell Shedmate what you want to do. So this is what this panel here that we're gonna cover inside the Shedmate pricing is about. So here I can tell that structural frames that are priced $13.9 in length, I'm quantifying all of the frames that are equal to C215. So that's what Shedmate is going to get in my model, and it's going to multiply the length by that price, and then we're going to have a total price for that specific item. So this is what we call the pricing calculations. It's the set of rules that I'm using to calculate every single item, considering the bill of materials or just formulas that I have in the model. So another example, if you're using vermisil, so you might have just the perimeter of the shed for the vermisil, and then you just multiply that perimeter by the price of each linear meter of the vermisil. So just a few examples here. All right, so once I have the pricing database, the pricing calculations, or that comes generally from the bill of materials or formulas, then we can create project-specific individual prices. So this means that the price for each item that I'm quantifying. For instance, how much am I gonna charge my client based on C115 or C115 5019? Then each of them is gonna have a quantity that has some pricing rules on them, and then we know the price per unit, we know the number of items, and then we have a total price. So when you combine the total price of every single item that we have in a shed, then like this would be frames, cladding, flashings. When we group all of this together, then we have our project price. So that's going to be the total price of that specific shed. And then here I can add my markup, my taxes, I can add discounts, and then I'm going to have the base price, a markup value, taxes value, discount value, and then the total price. So this is how Shedmate considers your pricing structure. So we have the bill of materials, we have pricing database that tells me how much every single item costs, and then we have pricing calculations or set of rules or formulas that are going to tell us specifically what to quantify for each one of those items, and then we put all of this together for our project price. So this it's just the foundations, but once it is set up, the system will be pretty much automatic. So you won't actually see all of this for every single project unless you want to audit it, unless you want to go there and check what's going on. But once it's set up, you just need to forget it and keep creating your new quotes so you can provide value to your customers. So now I would invite you to jump with me inside Shedmate so you can understand how all of this play, how the music will play together once we put all of these different instruments together.